right, well, I gotta touch this subject. Everybody's talking about it, and we just keep getting new stuff coming out, new updates regarding the matter, regarding the discussion. And of course, it's about Ian Garry and his wife Layla. So if you're not up to date, I would recommend watching mma-guru. mma-guru is the guy that kind of like investigated this whole matter thoroughly, and he also instigated in a way. He brought himself into the conversation. Then we also had Sean Strickland giving advice / giving shit to Ian Garry about the whole situation and his wife, Layla. But anyways, I'm not going to go into much detail. Like I said, you can do your research. You probably heard it by now. But I want to give my perspective on the whole situation and what I think about it and what's to come out of all of this. So, a little bit of retrospective. So, Ian Garry, apparently, we already knew he had the Machado in his last name. We already knew that from before, once he showed up in the UFC, that he took his wife's last name and she has his last name. So they both carry their last names. Something of that nature. Then I heard some people saying he took her ex-husband's last name. No, that's not correct. It's actually her maiden name, Machado. But anyways, there was a clip where he's like, I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm not going to talk about this fat guy, referring to supposedly to mma-guru and the accusations and the whole thing that she's a wag. And we didn't even know what a wag is. Wag is a wife's and girlfriend's. In other words, by the way, she wrote a book, How to Be a Wag. And that completely backfired on him, that whole statement that you're not a wag. But she wrote a book, How to Be a Wag, back 13 years ago at the when the FIFA World Cup was happening. That was 2010. So a long time ago, and he was a kid back then, by the way. But anyways, she does. My conclusion to this whole thing is, and then Sean Strickland came out and said, bro, you got to cut the cord. She's a succubus. He came back and said, I'm going to sue you. That's defamation. He said that to him, to mma-guru, and some other YouTubers that were attacking him. I doubt that I'm going to make that list, but it'll be cool. It will be an honor to get on that list too. But listen, she does seem like the person that would do something like that. She's not the first. She's not the last woman to do it. I think a word succubus is pretty much a pretty good term. I think that would describe her well in my eyes. Then Dylan Dennis also came out with private direct messages from 2018, where she sent him like a prayer emoji. They started a conversation and it went somewhere. He did not disclose the entire conversation, but she approached him first. So she's kind of like in this media space. She was talking to fighters. She was in the MMA game a few years back. And now it does appear that she was hunting for the next superstar to be with. It really does. And then she said the whole thing about the How to Be a Wag. It's not a real book. It's only 11 minutes. Yes, indeed, it is 11 minutes. And shout out to Two Slaps MMA. He actually bought the Audible book. He listened to it, and he regrets the whole 30 minutes he spent listening to it. But he says in no shape or form was it a comedy or satire. She's saying, oh, Americans don't understand British humor. No, some of us really do understand British humor, even though we're not British. But Two Slaps MMA clearly said that was not intended to be humor. That was actually a real thing, and it's cringe, right? So, but whatever. I mean, the whole thing is, my perspective on it is that I think that she manipulated Ian Garry to that extent that she also made him bring this up right now to bring more attention and more publicity to the whole family and to him as a fighter. I think he's an attention whore. I think she's an attention whore. They craved this, they wanted this, and they got it. This is exactly what they wanted. I'm pretty sure this is not something, oh my God, we didn't expect them to find the book. Of course, the book was gonna be, brought up. They intended this all along. They're gonna bring this up in the conversation, and this is just to promote him as a fighter. They're literally going by, no matter what the publicity is, if it's a negative or positive, it doesn't matter. He's the guy that's talked about. But I think that's not the way to go, if you ask me. I think it's ridiculous. And also she also controls a lot of the narrative of his career. Remember the mugshot of Jeff Neal? It turns out, now we're watching clips, in hindsight, it was her that came up with that idea. It wasn't him. It wasn't Ian Garry's idea. And then the whole thing with Neil Magny, That was lame of Ian Garry to bring it up and just use it to his advantage. I mean, he's obviously not a child beater. He doesn't beat his own child. He just says, I whoop my son from time to time, but it doesn't mean he's abusing his child. That's just taken completely out of context, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if she's behind that as well, behind that narrative. And then we have the whole stigma of him bringing the cameras to every fight camp, every training center, every gym in the freaking world, and just, bringing all that attention. It seems like that's what he wants. He wants the attention. He wants to be in the headlines. No matter how he gets there, he wants to be the center of attention somehow. And so him blocking the tweets, making his account private, I mean, he's just trying to get more followers, more attention. That's my conclusion. I think they're both attention whores and they're disgusting. And I think, yes, she is a succubus and he doesn't realize it. He's a little limited to realize that. That's my opinion, but we'll see how it all unfolds. He does have Vicente Luque. He's coming up. The fight with him at UFC 296. He's got a really tough opponent. Now, people are thinking he's not focused on that. No, I think he is a very talented fighter. We all agree on that. He's super talented. He has what it takes to be in the top. Now, is he championship material? Well, only time will tell. But yes, he is a little too cocky and maybe a little bit overconfident in his skills, but I'm pretty sure he's approaching this fight and his fight camp with all seriousness. He's taking him seriously, and I think he's going to perform well. I'm not sure that this is affecting him at all. I think this is all planned out to bring more publicity to his name and everything. That's the main goal. Now, is she still a gold digger as per se, or a succubus? Yes, I do think so. I think she's nasty in that sense. He doesn't realize it, but he's playing along with this whole stunt. I mean, the fact that you have her ex-husband and they're living all together and she has a kid with him and he's on his payroll as a nutritionist, it's just weird. It's really weird. It's a strange thing. I don't care how good of relationships there are, but it's just a strange thing. It's not a common thing. People don't do that. And they don't do that for a reason. It's really weird. Anyways. Now, there's also a rumor when his whole camera thing, nobody likes it, right? He got kicked out of the Leon Edwards camp gym. And then now Brandon Allen doesn't like the guy. He's in the same gym as him. And he says he got knocked out by somebody in that fucking gym. And it turns out all rumors are pointing to one person, and that's Shoutout Rakmano. Shoutout, who's also, by the way, a title contender. And I think he's a win away from the title fight. Just by example, I mean, he's fighting also at UFC 296. And he finishes Stephen Thompson in the first round in that kind of fashion. I mean, he might get a title shot over Belal Muhammad. If you ask me, I would give it to him. Probably not. Belal Muhammad is next in line unless something happens out of the ordinary. But Shoutout is right there. He's, if not a fight away, he's like 2 fights away. Ian Garry's got a long way to go. He's got probably 2 or 3 fights to go, and he would have to finish all of those fights or win him in a dominant fashion like he did versus Neil Magny. But anyways, so supposedly he got knocked out in the camp, and all the rumors are pointing to Shoutout Rakmano. That's a pretty good guess. So I know it doesn't count. He still has an unbeaten record. What happens in training happens in training. What happens officially on the cameras in the octagon is what matters, right? But that whole thing that he's a little too cocky, overconfident, it might backfire. And it also might backfire with this publicity stunt that he's trying to pull off. Maybe he then anticipated to unfold this way where everybody's going to turn against him. In the beginning, we were all like, oh, let's help out the guy. He needs help. No, I don't think he needs help. I think he's let's put it this way. He's a cunt himself, right? So him doing this, trying to get this all attention. Now he's trying to sue people for defamation. And at the same time, he didn't have a problem of making up crap and creating a mugshot of Jeff Neal, trying to paint a picture of Neil Magny being a child abuser. I mean, it's ridiculous. So he kind of deserves all of this, to be fair. And I don't wish him the worst. I think he's a talented fighter. I just hope he gets it into his head that, doing things this way is not the right way. But who knows? We'll see what happens. That's my 2 cents. I think they're doing this for publicity. They're both scummy in that sense. And we'll see how that fight goes versus Vicente Luque. But I'm pretty sure he's focused on that. He's very talented as a fighter. As a person, very questionable. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. And yeah, if you like the video, give me a like for the algorithm, and subscribe to Octacage MMA. I'll see you in the next one.